Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live,
Let Thrive.
What's up, Myka, man?
I am good, Stevie Stacks. How you doing?
I am doing good, man. Going through this HELOC, like we mentioned on the previous cast, and man, they want more stuff than just getting a house. It's crazy. And I thought getting a house was tough, but
It's the same process, basically.
HELOCs want everything. It seems like they want more. But anyways, going through that, go house shopping again. You know how it is. And but enough about me. And you've been doing good, Myka?
Yeah, good, man. Good. I'm actually refinancing a HELOC, so I know what you mean.
Oh, damn. That's the next level. We'll still use OPM even if they charge us more. Welcome to your favorite Airbnb, VRBO, short-term, mid-term, long-term rental podcast in the world, coming at you from Fort Worth and Arlington, Texas. And this is Live, Let, Thrive, as you know. And we have a special guest. His name is Brooke Pfautz. Did I say it right?
You did. Well done.
Right. Brooke Pfautz. And what he has is a little bio here. He's built a short-term vacation rental company to 500 properties and then exited. And then he's helped over 600 companies with their growth efforts. Also, he owns a company called Ventory, which we'll dive into. And he wrote a book called Vacation Rental Secrets that I can't wait to dive into either. Welcome to the show, Brooke.
What's up, guys? Excited to be here.
Excited to have you. So how did you get your start in this industry and build it up to 500 units? That's insane.
Yeah, so like most people, I kind of stumbled into it. I was actually in mortgage banking, believe it or not. So you guys were talking about mortgages and things like that. But yeah, I was in mortgage banking, and then ended up in 2007 stumbling into short-term rentals and started a company. I live in Baltimore, Maryland. And I decided to start a short-term vacation rental company in Ocean City, Maryland, which is about 3 hours away. So every Monday I would get in my car, I'd drive down to Ocean City, just talk to anybody that was stupid enough to listen to me and kind of tell them my story about how I was going to build just a killer vacation rental company. And they all kind of like laughed at me. They said, hey, yeah, you know how many people have driven across this bridge and tried to start a company over here? It'll never work. I said, all right, thank you. But do you know anybody stupid enough to listen to me that I could talk to that would, maybe will help me out? And then they said, you know what? So-and-so, she's kind of crazy. She might talk to you. So did that for a couple of years. And next thing you know, like I got a little bit of momentum, got a little bit of traction, and it just kind of grew from there. So grew it up to about 500 properties under management. So I did not, just to be clear, I did not own these properties. This is strictly co-hosting or vacation rental management. Exited that business in 2013. So yeah, and then I've been in the short-term space since then in various other roles.
Whoa, you said you exited in 2013. So this is like on the brink of Airbnb kind of really.
Oh, yeah. We didn't even use Airbnb. Like literally, we never had one reservation the whole time I was there. We were using VRBO. Then it was called VRBO. Then it went to Homeaway. Now it's down back to VRBO. So we used VRBO. And actually, look, a lot of people give the OTAs a hard time, but if it wasn't for the OTAs, if it wasn't for VRBO at the time, I would not have succeeded, because here I was going against these legacy companies that had been around for 45 years that had all these repeat bookings, and I had to go head to head with them. And I was trying to figure out how to compete, and these little OTAs just kind of started launching. And it was what helped me kind of go head to head against these big boys and win. And man, we got so many leads in those early days. In the early days of VRBO, you could actually it was all based on how many photos you had, how you were sorted. So I would pick like one or two of my top properties in every building, and I would get the top subscription, and I would never update the calendar. So all these leads. One summer, I remember, guys, I had 85,000 leads that came in, like inquiries, because I had literally every building in Ocean City marketed, and at the top subscription level. It was the wild, wild west of vacation rentals for sure.
Now I have a question. What made you exit in 2013? Like, what was the reason? Like, hey, I got a 500. Because like, if you look back, hindsight 2020, if you would have kept those 500 into the Airbnb space,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so what made you exit?
Well, look, I'll be very candid. I had a great business partner, but there were some things we didn't see eye to eye with, and I saw a really good opportunity down in Orlando where I could become. I was chief business development officer for one of the top companies down in Orlando, and we actually started getting into development. We trademarked a company called Purpose Built Vacation Homes, where we actually were designing and building vacation homes. These were 7 to 14 bedroom homes. So like, I know it's all the rage now to have these really killer, like themed out bedrooms and arcades and everything in Orlando. But we were actually the first company to do that down there. And so it was a fun run, 5 years down in Orlando, kind of building purpose built homes and kind of helping them grow down there too.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So like when you were building, I just a couple, because I do a little bit of management. Steve does a lot of management. When you were doing this, like up in Baltimore, like for you to get to 500, like what type of owners were you looking for? Because one thing me and Steve always talk about is this owner a good fit for my business model? Like what type of owners were you guys looking for to make sure that they were going to fit what your business model was?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question, actually. So in the early days, man, and remember, these properties were in Ocean City, Maryland, which is about 3 hours away. So Ocean City, Maryland is if you're not familiar with it, it's a 9-mile strip of sand with about 20,000 condos of vacation rentals. So it is a traditional, vacation rental market. So in the early days, I just wanted inventory. Like I just wanted to sign up anybody I could. And then once I started actually getting inventory, I realized like, hey, there's these like 4 or 5 like newer construction buildings, like newer developments that would do 2 to 3 to 5x what all the other properties were doing. And guess what? There was no complaints from, very few complaints from those guests. All my complaints were coming from the shitty properties, So that was it. So it started with taking anything. Then it went into just going after the inventory. Then though, it actually went into the owners. And actually, I talk about that in the book. One of the top 10 mistakes that many people made when we kind of consolidated this, and we'll talk about that in a second, was taking on the wrong properties, but more importantly, the wrong owners. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, like I tell you what, man, it is not worth getting that toxic owner. That one owner, if you think about it, like 90% of your issues, 90% of your stress comes from 1 or 2 property owners. It's just not worth the stress on the team and to yourself, So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, man, we both
feel it, right? You feel it.
Yeah, we feel it. We feel it. I haven't got to the 500 point yet, but I got like over 50 properties now, and you're right, man. You're totally right. You get me and Myka talked about it in the last cast. Like for example, I took over. I just started managing a property in Austin. It's doing great. We're doing great for this owner. He's never done Airbnb before or short-term rentals. So he just, here you go. I trust you guys. Y'all sound like you know what you're doing. And it's been a beautiful relationship. If you get a property from someone that's been self-managing, that's a different story because that's their baby. They know exactly how to do it. Oh, you sure you have it at the right rates? You sure you're doing this? It's, oh my goodness gracious. But all the people, management people that are listening to the show are all just shaking their head with an agreement with you, man. Because yeah, you're right. If any of my wonderful clients are listening, I'm definitely not talking about you. But there's so many things we could touch on. You said so much stuff already. But partnerships. I mean, you grew it to 500 with a partner. It's pretty amazing. I don't know. Well, you said after that, you jumped ship, but man, partnerships they're a little bit difficult, and so what was the main friction points that you didn't see eye to eye? You said.
No, there's so much to go. I mean, we actually had a pretty decent relationship the entire time, but he had controlling interest, and we just kind of came to a disagreement in some of the what ended up happening was we end up, well, I don't want to get too much into it, but because I still respect the guy and things like that, but we just were kind of butting heads. And at the end there, I had a great opportunity, much better opportunity, what I thought, to work down in Orlando. So ended up, luckily in the agreement we had kind of a buy-sell agreement kind of in place. So it was pretty clear kind of what the exit valuation was when we negotiated. Unfortunately, values have gone way up since I sold. but there wasn't really any room for negotiation because it was kind of in the operating agreement from day one. So there's a kind of a learning lesson in that from the beginning. It's almost like a prenup, right? Spell it out. If you have a partner, spell it out in the operating agreement in advance, kind of what that exit looks like if it exit, because there's a high probability there is going to be an exit, at some point. The odds are you're not going to have partners all the way through the end, most likely.
And would you do another partnership after that experience?
I mean, yeah. I mean, at Vintory, I've got 2 partners now. You know what I mean? So it's absolutely. It's just yeah. So I have no problem doing a partnership.
Okay.
But here's one piece of advice though: don't ever do a 50-50 partnership.
Why is that?
I apologize if you guys have 50-50 partnerships or something like that, but you need to have somebody ultimately needs to have like kind of be able to cut the tie. You know what I mean? If you guys are in disagreement, somebody needs to break that tie.
I was taking notes over. I'm like, never do a 50-50 partnership. Okay. Because someone needs to. So you do like a 51-49.
Or you can have a 50-50 partnership, but like, look, it's going to get to a point where both of you disagree. Somebody needs to be able to break that tie,
Okay.
That's true. You can't have 2 CEOs, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't work. But enough about the glum stuff. So you jumped ship, went to Orlando, started kicking butt over there. You were there 5 years, and then what happened?
Yeah, then I was living out of a suitcase for literally 10 years. My wife said, "Hey, when are you actually going to live with your family? Me and your 2 daughters. I had 2 young daughters at the time." And so I ended up taking a job with a company called LiveRes, which at the time was the largest property management software company. I was VP of sales and marketing. They're based out of Boise, Idaho, but I was able to do that from my home office here in Baltimore. So did that for 2 years. Absolutely loved it. That's when I fell in love with SaaS, software as a service and software in general. I just saw how it really kind of expanded. You can really scale it. And then after doing that for 2 years, I said, you know what? Like I actually led these mastermind groups and they were kind of like advisory boards. And what I found was one of the biggest pain points in the industry was growing inventory, like adding properties. And it was something that I was super passionate about, something that I absolutely enjoyed, something that I was blessed to be pretty good at. And I said, you know what, like, why is there not a company that's actually helping you grow your inventory? All these companies out there are helping you get guests. They're helping you with marketing. They're helping you with revenue management. Nobody's focused on the supply side of thing. And if you think about it, that is the greatest lever you can pull to increase your top line revenues. It's inventory. I mean, think about it. Like we've actually done a study on this. If you can impact like your revenue, with revenue management, and you can impact your marketing, get more reservations, but they only have and you need to do that. Don't get me wrong. They're important things, but it only moves the needle so much. If you get more inventory, it has this compounding effect. It's so much more effective. And in fact, we found it's 3.9 to 6 times more impactful to grow your inventory than it is to actually increase your revenue through revenue management or through marketing and distribution. So it's the most impactful lever. So again, I said, this is something I'm good at, something I'm really good at, something I'm passionate about. There's nothing out there like it. Why don't I start a company? And I remember literally I called up 4 of my buddies that were in the industry. I said, hey, I've got this crazy idea. I want to start at the time, it was just a marketing agency to help people grow their inventory. And every one of them, like halfway through my pitch, said, Brooke, shut up, I'm in. And that's when I knew I had something. And I mean, it's just been proverbial lightning in a bottle ever since. We've been taking off like crazy. And since then, we've helped over, as you said in the intro, we've helped over 600 companies with their inventory growth efforts. So we've learned a thing or two. We learned what works. We learned what doesn't work. And I would say we're probably the best on the planet. We've got over 50 growth experts on our team, and that's all we do. Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur. He said, Brooke, riches and niches. Be the best on the planet at one little thing, and this is our thing. I'm not going to start a PMS. I'm not going to start an OTA. My thing is inventory and supply.
Now, I want to dive into that. Are you going to dive into it? Because
I'm going into inventory too, but go ahead.
How does inventory get us more? How does Vintory get us more inventory? Because I want more inventory. I want it right now.
So pretty much we've taken everything I've learned over the last, 17 years of doing this now, 16 years of doing this, and we put it into a software and marketing agency, make it really, really simple. So I'll try to keep this as condensed as possible. Data. It all starts with data. We have, I would argue, the largest database of vacation rental homeowners on the planet. We get that data from a couple different sources. We have direct pipelines, APIs with all the county courthouses. We scrape all the OTAs. So we're scraping Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com. We go out and we have a team in the Philippines that do nothing but get vacation rental permit data. We overlay all that data together. We then append it. We dedupe it. We then go out and get emails and phones and social profiles. So we have this really robust database, again, of the largest database of vacation rental homeowners on the planet. So it starts there. Second thing, part two, we have these campaign engines. So this is like, all right, you've drawn a little map. You want to have identified, hey, I only want 4-bedroom direct ocean front with a pool, in this little polygon. Then you've identified, you tag that and you say, all right, now I want to market to these people. How do you market to them? So we can market to them via email. So we run actually cold email outreach directly to them. We do direct mail. Direct mail still works in the vacation rental industry. It's one of the few industries where it still works. So we have proven templates, proven postcards that have been proven to work. And again, after sending, I think we send more direct mail in the vacation rental industry than anybody else out there. I've tons and tons of direct mail. We're sending close to 100,000 pieces every single month through all of our different partners. And then we also have some digital marketing. So we can do what's called list-based targeting. So you identify your targets and you can serve up ads directly on their social feeds. So you can serve up, on their Instagram, on their Facebook, on their LinkedIn, whatever you want to do. But again, this is not triangulation. This is not lookalike audiences. This is like we are serving up ads directly to those targets. But we're also doing it in an omni-channel approach. So we're hitting them with email, we're hitting them with direct mail, and then they see our ads on Facebook. They're like, man, these guys are everywhere. If they're this good at marketing to me, they must be really good at marketing to guests. So then finally, we send everybody to lead funnels. We send them to landing pages that we build. We build some really cool lead magnets like ROI calculators and some things that can predict exactly what their property will do in rental income. We capture that information. And then once they raise their hand, they say, hey, I'm in. We have a CRM and marketing automation platform that nurtures those leads all the way through the process. And then we can even we have an integration with DocuSign. So you just drag it to send contract. It merges in all the fields, sends a contract directly to them, puts it in there. Then we have an onboarding pipeline because onboarding new properties is a pain in the butt. So it goes through all those processes. And then we're building out, this is about to release. You guys might be the first to hear that, a retention platform, because keeping properties in your rental program is just as important as getting new properties. And I got a couple other cool things we'll be launching here at VRMA, but I'll just leave that as a little tease for you guys. Maybe I'll come back on the pod post-October and give you about the next stuff coming out.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, I noticed, and I understand you mainly target vacation rental markets because that's like a guaranteed, easier to get in front of the people they own. Have you thought about going into metro markets?
Yeah, we do have some urban markets that are out there. It's a little bit more challenging because obviously you don't have a ton of proven vacation rentals. There's some out there, but it's just obviously not as the breadth isn't as deep. But we can definitely, our core business is the traditional vacation rental markets. But with that said, we've got a lot of urban market vacation rental management companies using our services, and even some non-urban, just and that's, I tell you what, the companies that we see that are most successful right now, like if I were launching a vacation rental management company right now, I wouldn't go to Breckenridge. I wouldn't go to Aspen. I wouldn't go to Outer Banks. I'd go to like Hudson Valley, New York. I'd go to Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I'd go to Fredericksburg, Texas. Like these little secondary markets that are just kind of coming out, like they don't have a ton of competition. Those are the markets that are ripe. Those are the partners that we have that are just killing it and growing super fast. Those are the ones that are doing a really good job versus the traditional old school vacation rental markets.
You said Fredericksburg, Texas. That's how I know you know what you're talking about.
I wrote that down.
I have some in Fredericksburg.
There you go.
Yeah, so I know. I'm like, I
love it. I've been there, man. I've actually been there. It's a cool spot. I had a couple of beers at the beer garden there.
Yeah, definitely. The other ones, I've never, like you said, Hudson, where's it? Hudson
Valley, New York. Yeah. It's a couple hours. It's about an hour and a half, I think, outside of New York, if I'm not mistaken. But it's kind of along the Hudson River, beautiful, like bigger, older homes. Just a lot of people are getting out of, want to get out of the city. But yeah, it's a great little spot, but it's a non-traditional market, but these properties are all doing north of 100K. And again, there's only like a handful of companies out there now. I'm sure I'm going to piss off my partner that I have out there right now because all these people I keep saying this on the podcast and people are going to start coming out there and hitting Hudson Valley and he's going to be mad at me. So apologize.
Yeah, because I've said a few markets on the podcast, and yeah, they're saturated now. So people start, but you just got to change with it. You know what I mean? You know how it is.
So one thing you mentioned was the retention. See, now that's cool that you can help people find people to manage, places to manage, and I'm very interested in that. I want to definitely hop onto Ventory, see what it can do for me. But the retention side, that's very important as well. How do you help hosts or co-hosts retain clients?
So it's all about staying in touch with like one of the biggest complaints that many owners get is lack of communication. So staying in touch with them, but obviously you need to be a little bit more proactive. So we set some little like ticklers in there to like touch base with them, to call them. We do some automated emails directly to them. Just, hey, how are things going? Just check and see how things are going. But it seems like you just sent the email. We do NPS surveys. We have an NPS survey built into our platform. And then we also do we have integration with some handwritten programs. So these little handwritten letters that'll just say, hey, today is your 1 year anniversary of being in our rental program. Just wanted to thank you for being in our rental program. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Send anniversary cards, birthday cards, holiday cards, all those kind of things. But the key though is those NPSs, because what you want to do is very often they'll tell you what's bothering them. You just got to get in front of them. So be proactive. Don't let the time, if they call you and they cancel and you didn't know it, you've got a problem. You know what I mean? It's like you should send out any kind of surveys you can to kind of get that information and then address it when the scores come back. If they do come back low and they say, what's one thing we can do to improve, and they tell you and you don't improve that, shame on you. So that's but a lot of it is really just it's setting up those reminders. A lot of times, I hate to say it, I know it's work and nobody has the time to do it and the bandwidth to do it, but it's just pick up the freaking phone and call them.
Sometimes they just want to be heard. That's what I've realized.
And you can address it. You can get out in front of it. Sometimes it's minor stuff. It's little things that bug them,
That's true. So the retention side, that's really cool. And you're helping us pick up properties, which is super important. And so man, I lost my train of thought here.
Well, here's the thing. So here's one. Very few people have actually gone through the exercise to understand how valuable inventory is. And this is whenever I speak at conferences and things like that, this is how I usually start the presentation. It's because, again, nobody's gone through the math of this. So the average property, again, after asking over 600 companies this question, what falls to the bottom line as a percentage of your gross booking revenue? And the number is almost always around 10% of your gross booking revenue, plus or minus. Now it depends. I mean, if you're in the early days, you only have like 2 or 3 properties. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. But like for more established, like, co-hosting, property management type companies, 10% falls to the bottom line. So if we just break that down onto like a per property basis, let's say you sign up a new property. Steve, let's say you sign up a property that's going to do about $75K in gross booking revenue. You can almost take to the bank that you're going to net about $7,500 in net profit from managing that property. And here's the funny thing. It doesn't matter if you're like I was in Ocean City with 13 to 16%, commission, or you're like some of these guys in Vail and Aspen who are charging 45 to 50%. Net, what falls to the bottom line in net profits is 10%. So $75,000 properties, $75,000 property will net you about $7,500 in net profit after year 1. But here's the cool thing. You don't keep a property in your rental program for 1 year. So how do you calculate the lifetime in years that you're going to keep a property in your rental program? The average from, again, asking this over 600 different companies, the average churn, which is what percentage of your inventory you lose in a given year, usually averages plus or minus, depending on the market and things like that, but it usually averages about 10%. So to get your lifetime in years, as I promise you guys no math, but I'm going to give you a little bit of math. If you take 1 divided by 10%, that gives you a 10-year lifetime. So the average property stays in a rental program for 10 years. The average profit is 10%, so $7,500. So 7,500 times 10, that's $75,000. Mm-hmm. So you notice that number was the exact same number as the gross booking revenue. So here's the quick little hack. Assuming you fall within the industry averages within net margins and churn, your lifetime value is equal to your gross booking revenue. So, Micah, you go out there, you sign up a $75,000 or $100,000 property tomorrow. You can take to the bank. That property is going to make you $100,000 over the next 10 years. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's better than, these real estate agents are like, oh, I don't want to get into short-term rentals. There's no money in it. Well, guess what? There's a lot of money. I'd much rather have $75,000 in net profits than a $20,000 commission, even though it's over time. But it's also what I love about it's annuity. It just keeps on. That's why private equity is jumping into this space. They're rolling up these vacation rental management companies like crazy because it's predictable recurring revenue. I mean, there was properties I signed up in 2007 that are still in the company that I sold. I mean, these are like dozens of them are still there. What is that? 16 years later? You know what I mean? So it's great. But here's the thing. Not only do you make this beautiful annuity, if and when you decide to sell your company, you are going to get a check for every one of those management contracts. And the average company is being sold anywhere between 4 and 6 times your EBITDA. So, I mean, it's you can get a nice little check. So there's a guy named Jacoby Olin with C2G Advisors. If you don't know him, if you're looking to exit, you have a platform, a co-hosting or a management platform you're thinking about selling, I would definitely call Jacoby. Again, C2G Advisors. He sold $200 million worth of vacation rental companies last year. And what he did is he looked at all the management contracts that were sold, what the total sales price across all those companies were, and it came out to between $33,000 and $34,000 per contract. So that's what these private equity companies are buying. Because that's when you sell your management company, that's what you're selling. You're selling the management contract. I hate to say they don't care about your guest database. They don't care about your brand. They don't care about your beautiful office or your trucks that are wrapped and all that stuff. What they care about are those management contracts. And on average, they're worth between $33,000 and $34,000. Now, I know there's a lot of assumptions built into that. And like you could have only 5 properties and no profits. You're not going to get that. But overall, if you look at the average of the average of the averages, these contracts are going for $33,000 to $34,000 a pop. So you don't have to own the inventory. So many people think you have to own the inventory to build net worth. You can build net worth by building up a co-hosting platform for sure.
Do you help with the contracts?
So on the M&A side?
Yeah. Like, cause you said these companies are going to buy a contract. Now, a lot of us operators out here, we all have our contracts written in a certain way. And I would assume that you would know how to write them to make them the most attractive they could be to a company trying to buy them.
So look, I've got lots of examples, happy to help and share some of those with them, but I would recommend probably just talking to Jacoby Olin because he knows exactly what they're going to go through. And he's going to pick through those things and he's going to know, here's the key thing. And he's got a whole list, a punch list, everything. One thing you want to make sure you have in there is make the contracts assignable. Dude, the last thing you want to do is make it where your contracts are not assignable because then you know what you have to do when you sell your company? You have to get new contracts signed for every single one. And your deal is going to be contingent on those contracts being rewritten. So otherwise, it's just going to make a lot more work for yourself. So make sure those contracts are assignable.
That's a genius right
there. That's a gem.
That's it because... Yeah, I mean, I'll admit it. My contracts I never thought of making them assignable. And I always thought, what if I end up selling my inventory? How am I going to explain this to the owner? Hey, you're going to another management company. I know, I hired you, But if the contract says it's, assignable.
And nobody's going to push back. Nobody is going to push out at all. I'm telling you.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. So I remember the question I was going to ask you, so I currently, and it's so amazing that you're hopping on the show at this exact moment because I have, trying to build my own little sales funnel to try to pick up clients. Right. And I have my assistant, Manu. Well, shout out to Manu. He's there hustling, he's going over all the Zillows. He's going through Airbnb. He's going through other places. We've got reprimanded by other sites that we shouldn't have been doing it on their site, kind of thing like that. We're putting the street signs everywhere kind of deal, bandit signs on the internet. And it's working to an extent, last month was a pretty good month. We picked up 5 houses and that's pretty good for us, but it kind of, this month is just like, we hit a wall. We haven't picked up any yet. And so I still want to use him to try to get out there and pick up as many properties as possible, bring him into the system. And would he be able to use Ventory to help accelerate doing that?
course. I mean, that's exactly what we do, right? It would, I mean, again, we've taken everything we've learned over the last 16 years, everything we've learned, helping over 600 different companies, and built a system to make it really easy to do it. So absolutely happy to help you any way we can. And there's a lot of other different strategies you can do. You don't have to use inventory, but what we've learned, and look, here's, I've written a couple books. The first book, From 0 to 500 Properties in 5 Years. This is literally the playbook. This is everything we run right here on how we grew, how I grew my company, and everything we do. I give you the keys to the car, but it's a lot of freaking work. And what we find is a lot of people say, you know what, man, that's a lot of work. We'd rather just hire you guys to do it for us, so we can build that for you. But the key, though, one of the biggest things, the most important thing, and I say it time and time again, it's consistency. You have to be consistent in your marketing. Most people are very consistent on their marketing, getting new guests. They've got this nice little pipeline. They've got their marketing calendar laid out for the entire year, how they're marketing to their past guests. They do all these things, but getting inventory is like an afterthought. It's like they lob out one postcard a year and assume that that's going to work. You have to have a proactive strategy and just lay it out there. And that's really what inventory does. We make it really super simple. And one other I'll give myself a little shameless plug. One thing we do is we actually have learned one of the most core and important pieces is just having the right person that's actually answering the phone and closing the deals. We leverage psychometric personality assessment tools. So there's one called Culture Index. There's another one called Predictive Index. And what we found is if you have the right profiles, and it's usually like a trailblazer or a persuader, they will do 3x the output of almost every other profile out there. And the reason, so what we did is we launched a fractional outsourced business development team. And the reason we did that was, every once in a while I'd have a partner that would call me and say, hey, Brooke, we're canceling, or they email me. I'm like, why are you canceling? They're like, well, we're just not getting the ROI. And I'd look into their CRM and they had like 16 new leads sitting in there, never touched, never called, never responded to. And I'm like, no wonder you weren't successful. You never responded to your freaking leads. Well, I'm just too busy, man. You don't understand. I'm like, I know how busy you are. So but they still canceled. And guess what? It wasn't my fault, but it was my fault. It ultimately affected me and they canceled. And we saw this happen a couple of times. I said, you know what? I know I can predict if they have the right business development person in that role, if they're going to be successful or not. If they don't, they're not going to be successful. But I also know that the average, management company can't afford like, a six-figure salaried, biz dev person. So what did we do? We actually built out this, we call it like the SEAL Team 6 of vacation rental business development people. We only hire, again, trailblazers and persuaders. We only hire people that are experienced in the short-term rental space. And we built this incredible team. But the thing is, you get to hire them on a fractional basis. So rather than paying their six-figure salary, you're only paying a small amount. And then we have a small commission on every new contract you can get. So it's much more economical. It works. And it's successful. And again, we're hiring the best of the best. I mean, we hired one company last month. We signed up 5 new contracts for them. It was fantastic. So that's our little, I apologize for my shameless plug, but that's our little fractional biz dev team right there.
I love it.
I love it. Now, okay. So you guys do all the marketing. You guys go and get them now. So like, how does it work? Or is it like, do you guys like kind of white label it? So it looks like my company.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So it's completely, there's no mention of inventory anywhere on there. Maybe at the very bottom of one of the landing pages in fine print, it says powered by Vintory. But other than that, yeah, it doesn't say anything. So yeah, it looks like your company, looks like your landing pages, all the postcards going out are your brand. Even when the fractional biz dev person answers the phone, they're answering it on behalf of your company, because we know it shows up on our phone which company it's coming from. So we're actually answering, and they're pros. They have a cheat sheet on your program. They'll actually go out to your on site and visit with your team, visit with your market, so they understand the market, and become a pro, understand your contract inside and out. So yeah, it's like a full on representation of your team.
Okay. And then is this like, I noticed you said, is it subscription based? So we just pay monthly and we keep getting the leads?
Yep. Monthly, you get to keep, obviously, the leads, you get to keep all the deals, all those contracts are yours. And I mean, here's the reality. If you can, what we always talk about is a 12-month CAC payback. So CAC stands for customer acquisition cost. If you can keep your acquisition cost under a year, you are home free. Because remember, we talked about before, the average lifetime was about 10 years. So let's just say your first year profits are doing nothing but covering your expenses on acquiring that property. And then from from month 13 through year 10 is all profits. So if you can get that CAC recovery 12 months or less, that's kind of like our benchmark where we're really shooting for. Even if you can get it a little bit above that, you're fine. But that's kind of like the goal we usually shoot for. So again, going back to that example, $75,000 property, you're going to make $7,500 in year one. If you can acquire that property for under $7,500, which you should be able to, that's a home run. I'd take that all day long.
Love that.
So let's talk the price. How much does something like this cost per month?
So we've got programs as cheap as $399 a month, for our essentials platform. And then it goes all the way up. I mean, if you want a biz dev person, it's going to be an extra $2,500 a month. But again, you are getting a 6-figure sales rep. Like I said, you'd have to pay, well over $100,000 a year for.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you're paying them $2,500 a month to be the closer.
To get that fractional biz dev. You don't need to have that. I mean, if you know how to close, if you can close them, and you feel confident that those calls come in and you feel confident in your closing services. And then also just being responsive. We found that most companies, unfortunately, just are not responsive. And that is one of the number one key critical pieces of success is how quickly do you respond? We secret shopped 100 management companies. We inquired about property management services, and they only picked up the phone 34% of the time. When we left a message, they only called us back 54% of the time.
Lord, here's the thing. So like, I feel like I'm a good closer. I'm good at talking to people. I'm good at listening to them. That's my high. I mean, I guess this show taught me how to do that. But I love listening to people. I love hearing their stories. I love, tell me more about that. Oh, people love to talk about themselves. Anyways, I'm pretty good at it. My partner, Manu, who's got there, hustling, getting all the leads. His English ain't the best. He's learning. He's coming along really good, right? So he's closed a few, but I really, would like him to step up more in that role. I know I can do it, but he's not quite the killers like you hire, those guys, the wolves of Wall Street, whatever. So I'm comfortable like starting something like you said, $399 price range. And then, but I mean, as a CEO, you really want to push as many tasks off to other people as possible, right? So, I mean, it is, but responsive. I mean, that's the thing. He's helped me out so long because I same thing with you and your ex partner. We kind of went our separate ways. I took over the company 100%, and I'm just bogged down with a million tasks, and I needed him to make these calls, what I'm saying? Because I'm just trying to shape the business how I want it, and then I can jump back into the calls. But I just do you see, I mean, his responsiveness, at least he can answer the messages and get the ball rolling, get it in a nice place, and then send it to me. I mean, is that a possibility?
So if he's super responsive, but he maybe isn't the best closer, what I would do is use him as like what they call an inbound marketing response rep. So an MRR or a SDR, sales development rep. And I would use him on the front end to just, pick up the leads, pick up the calls, or pick up the phone, or when a lead comes in through like your landing page, respond immediately as fast as you can. And then tee up an appointment, directly for you, and then let you close it. Like give him your meeting scheduler link and let him just schedule those appointments, or do hot call transfers. Because every day you wait, there's a chance that the deal is not going to close. One of the things built into our system, we have something really cool. It's called a hot call transfer. So again, we know that speed and responsiveness is one of the most important things. And I'll give you a little stat from a guy named Mark Roberge in a second. But what we'll do as soon as a lead comes in our system, like let's say they go to the landing page, they fill it out, it'll actually do a hot call transfer directly to you or whoever you assign. And it'll say, hey, this is the Vintory lead machine. We have a new lead for you. Press any key to be connected. You press the key, it actually calls them directly and connects you to. So literally, they're probably still on the landing page and it's already called. It's already made an outbound call. And they're like, and usually the comment we get is, man, I'm still on your website. And you're like, exactly, because we know how important that is. So there's a guy named Mark Roberge. He was the former chief revenue officer at HubSpot. I think he was employee number 3 there. So he's got more data on this than anybody, because obviously HubSpot is just a freaking $30 billion company, and they've got all these leads. But he said if you connect with the lead immediately or within 2 minutes, you are 10 times more likely to close it than waiting just 1 hour. 10 times.
That makes sense. Makes total sense. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I do remember I've seen you before, and it was at one of the conventions or whatever, and you with this lady here, the $1 Million Host,
right. Julie,
yeah,
my friend Julie. I gotta get my book up there. Send me your address. I'll give you a book.
I'll do it right now.
I'm sending it.
You need to be on the wall of honor. But yeah, she had mentioned, oh, it's the 0 to 500 guy. You know, so she blasted you on her socials. I was like, oh, cool, man. You need to get him on the show. And so you're on the show. Thank you so much for hopping on, man.
Second time on, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. It's the second time. See, now I know where I really know you. But thanks for hopping on
I made
again.
such a good impression last time. You know,
it all. That's all. Man, didn't we have a guest that said all the same, similar stuff last time? Thank you for hopping on again, because yeah, we're growing.
Let's talk about the new book. I got a new book. Let's talk about the new book.
Yeah.
Yes, let's talk about vacation rental secrets.
Let's talk about it. So this all started again from it was Easter Sunday. I just, the family all left. I was exhausted. My wife and I were here, and my two girls, and I just poured a big glass of wine, and I flipped open, my phone, and flipped open LinkedIn, and I saw this post from a guy from a different industry, and he talked about like the top 10 mistakes that you made. And there's something about that just intrigued me, because if you think about it, where do you really learn? Where do you really get your learning lessons from? Your mistakes. And the second thing that was really cool about it, just like, the vulnerability of like admitting on public, like all the mistakes you made, in building your company. So I said, this is pretty cool. So I shot a quick email to 4 of my friends that were all, owned short-term vacational management companies. And I got a quick response from this one guy named Ryan Dame, who owns Casago. And it was fantastic. So I pushed it out onto LinkedIn that next morning, and it went viral. It was crazy. Like the feedback from that thing was amazing. And then the other 3 people all responded as well. So I pushed it out. And for the next 52 days straight, every single day at 6 a.m., I pushed out a new post on the top 10 mistakes by some of the top leaders in our space. And the information, the learning lessons from this was so good. And I was like, man, this content is just too good not to share. But it wasn't until I went to the Northwest VRP conference in Reno, Nevada, and this guy came up to me and he just said, hey, I want to introduce myself. I read your post. I love them. It's probably the most impactful. I look forward to it every single morning. It's the most impactful thing I read. And he goes, I actually print out every one of them and I put them into a binder. I was like, so you made kind of like a little book, huh? He goes, exactly. And I was like, man, this content's too good. I got to turn this into a book. And that's exactly what I did. So the book is set up like this. The first part is the 52 leaders, all their top 10 mistakes, person by person. And then the second part, what I realized, guys, was you could bucket these into like 10, like it all bucketed into like 10 different groupings. And I bucketed, and what we did is the second part was 10 chapters of the top 10 mistakes. And we kind of pulled it all together, and there's some sub bullets within that. And just, I'm telling you, I wish I had this book. It would have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars when I launched my company if I had this. And I really believe that this book becomes like, I don't know if you guys are familiar, Good to Great by Jim Collins. It becomes that kind of book for our industry, because the lessons that are learned here from some of the top leaders. I mean, some of the people in here have, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 properties under management. These are like the leaders, the top leaders in our space. And when you can learn from their mistakes, so you don't have to, I mean, it is worth the $14.99 for the book. And on that note, I don't make a dime from this book. All proceeds go to advocacy efforts to the short-term rental industry. So I spent thousands and thousands of dollars, but every single penny that I make from this is going to advocacy efforts.
That's awesome, man.
Can you tell us one, like a lesson that you learned that was like you would have never thought of, something that jumps out at you like, holy crap, that's wow, there's
so many. Well, let me do this. I'll read through real quick just the top 10, and then I'll pick one. So the number 1 was strategy. Number 2 was team. Number 3 was processes. Number 4 was based around finance and accounting. Number 5 was cleaning, inspections, laundry, and safety. Number 6 was communication, feedback, and guest marketing. Number 7, my favorite, of course, inventory acquisition. Number 8, we talked about this a little bit before, taking on the wrong owners and the wrong inventory. Number 9, technology. Number 10 was networking, conferences, community, and local competition. And then I threw a little bonus in there. It's like, take care of yourself, don't take it personally, and don't forget to celebrate the wins. But I think probably the one that, I don't know if it was surprised me the most, but just it was probably the number one. I wasn't expecting to be number one, was really the networking and conferences and local competition. That right there, I mean, how many people talked about like how much they learned from going to conferences, how much they learned from networking. And this was one that I guess shocked me a little bit, if you will. It was like extending an olive branch to your local competitors and don't look at them as a foe, but look at them as a friend, because you can gain a lot more from actually extending that olive branch. And that's one thing I've done here at Vintory. Anytime some little company comes up and they try to start something similar to what we're doing, just because they see kind of how successful we are and how fast we've been growing, the first thing I do is I reach out and I extend an olive branch, because I come from more of an abundance mindset, and it actually has worked out really well. I mean, one of the guys that did it, guy JJ King, he started a little company called VRBO Leads. I saw this little whippersnapper come up, and I was like, man, I got to reach out to this kid. Reached out to him. We ended up chatting for the next 6 months. He finally called me 6 months later. He goes, hey, man, he's like, honestly, I'm working like 80 hours a week and I'm not even making $30,000 a year. He's like, will you buy me? And I'm like, absolutely. And we ended up doing like an acqui-hire and brought him on the team. But had I not reached out to him, extended that olive branch, we would have probably never acquired him. And he's, like I said, one of our star employees right now.
Collaboration over competition, man.
Yeah,
I love that.
Spot on.
And it's funny because me and Myka, on doing this show, Live, Let, Thrive, like I said, we're both we've been doing short-term rentals for a while. We jumped into the management game too. So we do have a lot of, as you say, competition out there, especially in this area. But we still pump out these shows and give away as much free knowledge as possible to our competition. And sometimes like, should we say that on the show? Like, no, we just say everything. We just let it go. But it's come back to us like 100-fold. So it's there's something to say about that abundancy mindset.
Yep.
And I love that list. You said number 10 was conferences, man. And you know what's funny? That's the one that I always hang up myself up on. I'm like, man, I got to get to more conferences. That's mine. So yeah, I definitely got to check out that book. I will be buying it. Definitely checking that out.
Leave
a review. Yes.
Live, Let, Thrive conference coming soon, right?
There it is. There it is. Yeah.
There you go.
I tell you what, I call it the $2,500 takeaway. There's never been a conference I've been to where I haven't walked out with at least a $2,500 takeaway. It pays for itself every time.
There you go.
But here's the deal. Most of the learning lessons, I shouldn't say most of the learning lessons, many of the learning lessons, it's 11 o'clock at night at the bar. Seriously, I'm telling you.
Wow. Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Man, this has been amazing. I'm texting you. See, I did have your number saved. You made such an impression last time. and probably we weren't in the right spot to start something like this last time. Or you know how it is.
Why don't we do this? Hey, how about the first 5 people that like send you an email or I don't know how you ever want to do it. Of your listeners, I'll give a free book to. So if you want to do something like that, maybe put something in the show notes or something like that.
Yeah, in the show notes, and we'll say it now. So the first 5 people to inquire about Brooke's book, Vacation Rental Secrets, at info@liveletthrive at info@liveletthrive.com will receive what? Would you say a free copy?
Yep, 5 free copies. So each person gets one book. Yep.
5 free copies. So first 5 emails, get them in as soon as this drops. Yeah.
Nice, man. You got any more questions for Brooke here, Myka, man?
No, man. I have a whole 2 pages worth of notes on everything you've done, everything you're putting out there, man. Good luck to you, and I will be in touch. Go ahead.
I have a question. So I don't know if your company can help with this. I know definitely Jacoby would. Like, let's say I wanted to buy a few local companies that are doing business here that might be worn out, might be ready to hop out the game. Do y'all help with that at all?
I would talk to Jacoby for sure. He can help you out. But again, this goes back to the extending the olive branch. We've got one of our partners. That's exactly what he did. He would, every time he went up, he would end up doing lunch with one of his competitors. And finally, she's like, you know what? Vacasa has been hitting me up to sell. I am never selling to Vacasa. She's like, but I'm retired. I'm tired, man. I want to get out of this. Will you buy my company? And she sold that company for probably 10% of what she would have sold at the Vacasa. But because she didn't want to go to the big boys. She didn't want all her owners to go. So again, it pays to reach out to your local competitors, have lunch with them, take them out for a drink. Who knows? Maybe maybe they've had enough of it. Like this business is tough, man. It's a grind for sure. I've been there.
And you just gave me our next LLT event. We're going to target it straight to management companies. We're going to go have a drink. So yeah, great idea. I love that.
Cool. Brooke, where can people find you, my brother?
Yeah, well, I'm all over LinkedIn. Do a lot on LinkedIn, or you can just email me, Brooke, BROOKE at Vintory, VINTORY.com. And feel free to go. I mean, we've got tons of information. Every webinar I've ever done, every conference I've ever done is all on either our YouTube channel or it's on our website. We give so much information out there. I literally give everything out there, the keys to the car. It's online. You can do it out yourself, or if you don't want it, it's a lot of work. You want to hire us, feel free to reach out to us. But if you want to find it online, it's there at our website or on our YouTube channel.
At website, the Vintory.com?
Vintory.com, yep.
I will dive into that tonight. Well, thank you so much for hopping on again, Brooke, and amazing show. And we look forward to having some drinks with you.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, man.
Thank you, man. See you. All right, man. Episode 269 in the bags, man. That was a really good episode, man. I took a load of notes on that, man, because growing a management company I think that's what a lot of people are getting into. And I know me, I'm kind of moving further into management and ownership and kind of taking that route. I do love that management and ownership route. So then, even if like you own property and it's under a management company, you can still sell the management company and then still own the house, so setting up your business right is, very huge too. But man, that is powerful. That's definitely something we both will probably be looking into.
And that's what I noticed too, is in my business, is a CEO can get really bogged down in all the small stuff, right? And all of the, tweaking the listings, trying to get your occupancy up, trying to get, the most, going into price labs and making a million different rules, trying to get that extra dollar, you know what I'm saying? But like he said, you get adding another property to your inventory far outweighs, getting a few more bucks per booking or, per listing even. So, sure. That's why I've always been strong about get the CEO the hell out of that, working in the business role, because you'll hit a wall and you can't grow no more, because there'll be too much for you to do if you're trying to work in the business and not letting your team grow and do all these things for you. So I've been really, really focusing on trying to pull myself, creating the systems I need so I don't have to do that stuff no more. And it's really progressing good, thank goodness. And having my sales funnel. And now I look, I'm gonna dig into with this Vintory thing. I didn't want this show to sound like an infomercial. People come on, they have their companies and stuff like this, but this sounds really interesting. And it is important to have a sales funnel. I learned that, and like I said, we've been picking up properties and it's great. But to really, throw some gasoline on the fire and really, really build, bring in, widen the funnel, get as much properties and clients, at least talking to people, because you might talk to like 10 clients and land one, but that's still good. It's still good. So anyways, I'm excited about this. It hit at exactly the right time. And I'm going to dive into it and hit our boy up, hit Brooke up. He's a great guy. He'll chat with you. He'll have a beer with you. Hell yeah. I'm definitely going to be looking more into it, man. I love just being a connector of the space. I'm happy this podcast is like kept on growing and we're just a connector of the space. But I definitely do need to hit some conferences. I will be hitting some conferences, man. I just been last year and a half, man, new baby, all that stuff. So you're like, I can't get to a conference. I'm going to definitely hit a couple of conferences, man, because I know I'm missing out. So FOMO, got to get out there. Live, Let, Thrive conference coming soon. Yes, sir. But yeah, man. People find us, my brother. Find us at liveletthrive.com. Send us an email, info@liveletthrive.com. You can also email us individually, Myka at liveletthrive.com, Steve at liveletthrive.com. Hit us up. Remember to like and hit that subscribe button below. And thank y'all for continuing to be listeners. We are
man, we're still pushing and we're going to keep on pushing. We almost at 300 episodes. It's a glorious thing, you know? So yeah, thank y'all.
All right, my brother. Peace.
We are out.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.